All right, let's talk about 1984. Because in that year, one artist didn't just top the charts, he completely rewrote the rules of pop culture itself. Today, we're going to dive deep into the Purple Rain Revolution and figure out how Prince pulled off, well, total world domination in music, film, and pretty much everything else.
So let's set the scene. The year is 1984, and whether you were listening to the radio or going to the movies, there was one name you just could not escape: Prince.
And look, this wasn't just a hit album or a successful movie. No, this was a total takeover. I mean, think about it. In his acting debut, Prince starred in the #1 film at the box office, and at the exact same time, that movie was being powered by his #1 album on the Billboard charts. He didn't just top the charts, he created this entire world, this whole cultural ecosystem, all from a single project. It's just incredible.
So the big question is, how on earth did one artist pull off a feat like that? Well, it wasn't just one thing. It was this perfectly engineered three-part cultural phenomenon. Let's break down what we're calling the Purple Rain. Okay, let's start with the album's success. And let's just throw a number out there. 13 million. That's how many copies the Purple Rain soundtrack sold, and that's just in the United States. To put that into perspective for you, that is 13 times platinum. I mean, that's a commercial achievement that most artists can only dream of, and it absolutely cemented its place in music history.
You see, it all worked together like this three-part knockout punch. First, you've got the song Purple Rain. I mean, what an iconic anthem, right? It's this incredible fusion of rock, R&B, and gospel. Then that song becomes the anchor for the entire album, which is this musically dense masterpiece just packed with other huge hits. And then finally, the film comes along and gives the whole thing a story, a face, and this deeply powerful emotional core. Everything fed into everything else.
And if you really want to grasp just how dominant this was, you have to look at the competition. The only other artist who was even in the same ballpark for that #1 spot was another cultural giant, Bruce Springsteen, with Born in the USA. I mean, these two absolute titans were just battling it out, trading that top spot back and forth. They were literally defining the sound of an entire era.
But here's the thing, right? Purple Rain wasn't just some well-marketed product. It was the vision of one singular, totally defiant artist. So to really understand the phenomenon, you have to understand the man behind all that music.
This quote from Prince himself just captures his whole philosophy perfectly. It's not about arrogance, not at all. It's really a declaration of artistic sovereignty. It's this belief in your own unique vision, a vision that bows to absolutely no one. I mean, let's be clear. Prince was never just a pop star. He was a true trailblazer. His genius was in completely dissolving the boundaries between genres. You know, R&B, funk, rock, pop. He just blended it all together to create a sound that was 100% his. And he used that sound to talk about really complex, really personal themes: identity, race, sexuality, long before that was something you'd hear in mainstream music. But this right here, this is what truly set him apart. Think about it. He's at the absolute peak of his global fame. He could have just churned out Purple Rain Part 2 and cashed in, right? But instead, he does the unthinkable. He releases this wild, psychedelic, experimental album that just completely baffled the record labels and, honestly, a lot of his fans. And that single act of defiance, it became the blueprint for his entire career. A constant, lifelong refusal to be put in a box.
Okay, so we've established this thing was a cultural explosion. But what was the long-term impact? Let's talk about the shockwaves that Purple Rain sent through music, through film, and way beyond.
You know, he just fundamentally changed the whole conversation around identity. I mean, think about the hyper-masculine world of 1980s rock. And here comes Prince with his androgynous style, the ruffled shirts, the high heels, the eyeliner. That was a truly radical act back then. And then his music created this safe space, really, to openly talk about sexuality. By doing all that, he became this incredibly powerful symbol for anyone who ever felt like an outsider, and he inspired generations of artists to just embrace what makes them unique. And the film itself? Wow, it was absolutely revolutionary. It just completely shattered the mold of what a rock movie was supposed to be. See, this wasn't just a bunch of music videos strung together. It was a real narrative film where the music was the engine, driving the story's emotional core. It basically created a whole new blueprint for the modern musical film. You know, it's actually fascinating to look back and realize that when it first came out, the film got pretty mixed reviews. Critics, yeah, they love the powerful musical sequences and the raw, emotional honesty, but some of them definitely took issue with the performances of the amateur actors.
But despite all that, its cultural impact was just undeniable from day one, and it's only gotten bigger over time.
And all of this brings us to today. I mean, why? Decades later, are we still talking about Prince and Purple Rain? What is its everlasting echo?
Well, his influence is literally everywhere. You see it in how he redefined the relationship between music and sexuality with songs like Darling Nikki. You hear it in his genre-bending sound that echoes in artists all over pop, rock, and hip-hop today. But perhaps his most powerful, most important legacy was being this undeniable example for Black artists, proving that you could achieve massive global success without ever having to compromise your unique identity in what was and still can be a really restrictive industry.
So when you boil it all down, Prince's legacy isn't just about the millions of records sold or the box office numbers. That's not the crucial point. His true contribution, the thing he channeled through Purple Rain, was this powerful, beautiful message about embracing every single part of who you are, completely and without compromise.
And that really leaves us with one final thought to chew on. In a world that is so obsessed with putting us into boxes, with defining us by labels, what can we still learn today from an artist whose entire life, whose entire career, was a masterclass in refusing every single one of them?